Good morning. My name is Ben Kendrick, and I'd like to welcome and thank all of you for taking time today to view this organizational development and intervention after action presentation. Over the course of the next few minutes, I'll present an analysis of the Improved Workforce Flexibility Initiative, which I refer to as the IWFI for the remainder of this presentation. During the course of this presentation, I will begin with a very high-level overview of the IWFI project. This overview will include a brief description of the workplace situation that led to the need for this intervention, the proposed changes required, and more importantly, the goals of the intervention. Next, we will dive deeper into the details of the changes required to achieve the stated goals of the IWFI project. This will include a detailed description and analysis of steps proposed prior to beginning this intervention, as well as changes that were made during execution of the IWFI project plan. Finally, our discussion will conclude with an after-action review that includes both a pre- and post-intervention analysis. The focus of this analysis will be centered on describing the rationale for intervention steps proposed and taken, as well as a reflection on lessons learned through this intervention that may be applied to future organizational development opportunities. Kendrick Enterprises is a small firm providing aerospace manufacturing and assembly services to customers in the fields of commercial aviation and government space and defense contracting. Over the last 20 years, the company has grown to employ a workforce of over 2,900 employees, engaged in all aspects of product design, manufacturing, and integration. Currently, the company employs approximately 1,800 employees in 20 touch labor positions covering various manufacturing and assembly classifications. The remaining 1,100 employees are classified as salaried employees working in various management, administrative, or engineering positions. Additionally, management of touch labor employees is currently governed by a collective bargaining agreement negotiated through their exclusive bargaining agent, the International Association of Manufacturing Workers, Local 1325, hereinafter referred to as the Union. Originally, the bargaining agreement between the company and the union established 5 distinct job classifications, each having a clear distinction between the duties and responsibilities. However, as a result of growing demand for its products and services and the addition of work on several classified government, space, and defense contracts, the company and the union have negotiated the creation of another 12 additional job classifications over the last 20 years. These 12 additional classifications cover work being performed by employees in mechanical or electrical classifications. Each classification requires similar knowledge and skill, and there is significant overlap in job roles and responsibilities. In fact, in many cases, the only real difference in these 12 classifications is the contract on which the employees are assigned. This overlap of knowledge and skills provides an opportunity for the company to leverage the knowledge, skill, and experience of senior employees on all contracts. However, current contract language inhibits management's ability to move employees between contracts. This is especially a problem in times when work on one contract comes to an end, leading to layoffs. In fact, recent layoffs resulting from the economic downturn of 2008 have resulted in the retention of less senior employees at the expense of otherwise more skilled employees working in classifications on programs that prevented reassignment to remaining contract work. This has led to a significant decrease in employee morale and productivity. As a result, a team of representatives from the company and union was chartered to address this issue. The stated purpose of this team is to develop all required agreements, tools, and processes required to consolidate overlapping touch labor classifications governed by the collective bargaining agreement. This project directly supports several corporate goals established by Kendrick Enterprises. Among these, running a healthy business, improving customer satisfaction, improving labor relations, and improving employee morale are critical to the continued success of the company. Therefore, successful completion of this project will significantly improve the company's ability to manage its bargaining unit workforce. It will also help the company retain more qualified employees by minimizing the loss of tribal knowledge and skills associated with employee turnover. Additionally, completion of this intervention will improve the company's ability to rapidly adapt to changing business needs. Finally, this project will drastically improve overall labor relations and employee morale by strengthening employee seniority rights during times of layoff. In order to execute this intervention, the following steps were proposed. Formal buy-in from company and union leadership was documented in the form of a project charter prior to execution of any project steps. First step undertaken by the team was to conduct a 5-day workshop to document all required agreements and changes to existing contract language and affected company policies and procedures. Instead of taking a traditional adversarial approach to negotiation, both sides agreed to utilize interest-based bargaining techniques in order to develop a true win-win approach for addressing the problems previously identified. After the 5-day workshop, the team continued working together by conducting biweekly meetings in order to monitor project execution. During the course of these meetings, team members were required to share status updates on their current progress to date, as well as any other information that might impact or influence successful project execution. Throughout the entire process, leaders from the company and union provided regular communication to affected employees, utilizing appreciative inquiry as a conversational approach to organizational change. This constant feedback to employees helped ease employee apprehension to the idea of restructuring existing labor classifications. Finally, the team was able to institutionalize the change through the use of signed letters of agreements attached to the union contract. While conducting IWFI intervention activity, only a few minor changes to the original project plan were required. The first change was a decision to bring skill gap assessment activity back in-house. This decision was made to minimize the cost and productivity impact that off-site skill gap testing would require. As a result, affected employees participated in skill gap assessment activity in an on-site computer lab. This change negated the need to reimburse employees for mileage incurred traveling to and from the testing center and minimize disruption to factory operations. The only other change required post-intervention was the expansion of the project to include an additional 300 employees at a non-union site recently acquired shortly after the IWI program began. This decision was made to ensure the newly acquired non-union employees could meet the same skill requirements expected by the company. The initial budget requirement was set at a little over $581,000. This included a management reserve fund of a little over $183,000. To date, the project is 96% complete, pending closeout of final training for the 300 employees recently acquired. Currently, the project has $43,000 left in management reserve, so we anticipate that the project will be completed on schedule and under budget by approximately $40,000. As mentioned previously, the existing classification structure prevents movement of employees, resulting in layoffs as market needs change. This chart shows the distribution of employees according to their assigned program and current job classification. As you can see, affected employees cannot easily be transferred across programs when contracts are completed. For instance, if the needs of the military were to fluctuate due to budget constraints or other unforeseen threats, there's a good chance that fewer electrical employees would be needed on defense programs. However, even if the requirement for electrical work in commercial and space programs increased, the company would be prevented from immediately reassigning affected employees from defense programs without first going through the layoff process outlined in the current union contract. This leads to a significant drop in productivity, quality, and employee morale. However, by combining these 12 overlapping classifications into one consolidated job title, the company's ability to manage the workforce is greatly improved. Under this new classification structure, integration technicians can now be easily transferred to other programs where work is available. This change improves the company's performance, minimizes the need for cyclical layoffs, and improves job security and employee morale for affected employees. While there are any number of organizational development change models that could have been used to guide the development and execution of this intervention, the company and union unknowingly applied Cotter's 8-step model for transformation. The IWFI team performed Cotter's first step, establishing a sense of urgency, when they obtained leadership buy-in from members of company management and the union leadership. Step 2 and 3 of Cotter's model were addressed during the course of a 5-day off-site workshop. This workshop provided team members with an opportunity to come together as a guiding coalition, tasked with creating the vision and strategies required to successfully implement the desired change. Step 4 of Cotter's model was addressed throughout the entire life of the project as team members provided affected employees with regular updates on project status. Steps 5, 6, and 7 occurred during the execution phase of the project. During biweekly meetings, team members were empowered to act on the vision and plan created during the offsite workshop. As assigned actions were completed, the team began creating short-term gains that ultimately led to accomplishing the project's stated goal of consolidating overlapping classifications. Finally, the team completed Step 8, institutionalizing new approaches by documenting agreements made through the use of formal letters of agreement incorporated into the union contract. The team also adopted certain aspects of appreciative inquiry. More specifically, the team has chosen to focus on what works for both parties by participating in interest-based bargaining training and subsequent negotiations. Interest-based bargaining is a collaborative method of problem solving. This approach requires interested parties to consider solutions that address the mutual needs of both parties. In this case, the IWFI was chartered to address the company's need for workforce flexibility while also addressing the union's need for improved seniority protections. As a result, the company has demonstrated their appreciation for the knowledge and skill of senior employees who otherwise may have been laid off as market conditions fluctuated. This appreciation has been rewarded by a renewed sense of commitment to the company by employees. This concludes our organizational development and intervention after action presentation. Once again, I'd like to thank you all for taking the time today to view this material, and I look forward to any comments or feedback to questions you may have. Any questions or comments can be forwarded to my email at BenKendrick@cityuniversity.edu. Thank you and have a nice day.